And you can see in one of the posts earlier the lineup for today. We're going to have six really talented players. Going to start off today with Liquid Ret versus Prop MorroW. And MorroW was originally supposed to play last week, but he couldn't make it. So we are glad to finally have him here. Then we're going to follow up with Harstem versus Nurchio. Both of these matches will be best of 5 for $10. And then, of course, our headlining match. First time without Koreans, I might add, but still really awesome players nonetheless. It's going to be Liquid Bunny versus Liquid TLO to complete the Liquid Party.
Yeah, and if any of that kind of went over your heads, guys, don't worry. You can actually make sure you're watching on Hitbox itself and not just through the Team Liquid kind of embed, because you'll be able to see the chat, you'll be able to see the awesome flyer and everything that we actually have posted. It shows all the lineups and all the information you need about the show matches that are going to be happening today. And of course, you can also just participate in the chat because there's some awesome stuff going on. We have GIFs, we have all kinds of awesome stuff, and a huge shout out to Hitbox as well for actually sponsoring the event and helping fund the show matches and make them possible.
All right, so if you guys are all ready, and I know we all are here, we're going to get started here with the first match. It's going to be, again, Liquid Ret versus Prop MorroW, best of 5, and we're going to hop right into game number 1.
Indeed, the first map is going to be Expedition Lost for this Terran versus Zerg. And I've got to say, you know, MorroW, definitely one of the people that I've been seeing a good bit of, especially like on a lot of the community streams. I think that he's been on a couple of the Remax and also the late games. But Ret, I've got to be honest, Droopy, I haven't really seen quite as much of him lately. I really am curious to see what kind of shape he's in right now.
Yeah, that is definitely going to be something to keep an eye out for. But as this game is getting underway, this is Team Gravity Fight Night.
Team Gravity presents.
Spawning down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, we have the red Terran player representing Team Property. It is the European MorroW.
And on the upper right is going to be the player, our first player for Team Liquid today. It is going to be the Blue Zerg. In the opposite position, it is Red.
Alrighty, Expedition Lost, Terran versus Zerg. Droopy, how you feeling about TVZ right now?
Backdoor. That's all I got to say.
Backdoor.
Backdoor entrance at Expedition Lost. And it's not necessarily a sneaky thing where players just like, oh, I had no idea that I was going to, be attacked from there. I mean, everyone knows by now, but it always leads to some interesting movement on the map. Players trying to sandwich each other through that choke point, or, it's just it's a place where people can really do some amusing things, I guess, when it comes to those big battles.
Yeah, it really does kind of make you you really do have to be hyper aware about those backdoor rocks and making sure that you know if they're getting knocked down. Even if they do get knocked down, you kind of got to be ready to defend on multiple fronts and really keep an eye on where your opponent's army is. So I really like what you're saying, kind of the whole positional play in terms of trying to catch your opponent a little bit off guard. We see it happen a ton on this map, but for now, we aren't going to be seeing any of that kind of stuff. We're going to be seeing good old gas guys are being thrown down, barracks coming up from MorroW, and everything looking pretty safe, pretty standard. No crazy cheeses coming out so far.
No, not yet. We do have the pool coming down after that 15 hatch. Of course, now is if we see that gas being taken, there it is. So it does appear that Red is going to be probably opening with some kind of a speed build here. MorroW, on the other hand, he's not making a Reaper there. He is actually going to start off with a Marine. So, but he hasn't quite had 50 gas mined yet. So we'll see if he decides to use that 50 on a Reaper.
Yeah, there's also a good opportunity that he might just go straight up to a factory or something, save up for 100 gas, as it will allow him to put on a bit more pressure. And especially considering, if he decides to do that, he's going to have a very fast factory, and he can actually really, really put on a lot of pressure. No, going to be going for the reactor and go for the expansion behind it, it looks like.
Okay, that's interesting. So it looks like MorroW isn't thinking about necessarily harassing with Reaper or scouting, just going with the double Marine here for safety purposes. He is expanding on the low ground, so he does need to have something to help protect that building SCV just in case red is coming with some early pressure, which isn't the case, but yeah.
Yeah, Rhett definitely, I mean, for a very, very long time, he's had the reputation as being the player that, you know what, he's the king of drones. He will almost over drone because he wants to go to that late game. He really hits his stride when he actually gets that big economy going. So it's sort of interesting to see MorroW kind of take the more passive route in the early stages of the game, not really try to put on the pressure, but oh, is this Pneumatized Carapace a little bit quick?
Yeah, this is interesting. So, you know what? Going off what you said, he's the king of drones, I suppose. And yeah, he's not opening with speed here. He doesn't look to pressure or anything along those lines, but he's going for Overlord speed, which is interesting because I suppose maybe that'll allow for his Overlords to move a little faster around the map so he can scout better, have better vision.
Yeah, I'm sort of wondering about this. Maybe he is sort of just concerned about getting the scout off. I'll be interested to see if he has some sort of follow-up. Because again, it's like you were saying, it's Overlord speed before Zergling speed or Lair Tech or Baneling Nest or anything. But he's going to be going for the third behind all this. He's not really like, I don't think he's going to go for like Overlord drop or something after Lair. He'd need to get Lair up anyways for that. But we'll wait and see. For now, he's living up to his namesake. He's going for the drones. He's going for as many drones as possible.
Yeah, I mean, he just got that scout in through the Terran base, and I suppose that because of the Overlord speed, he didn't lose it to the Marines on the ground. So maybe just in that, it's already paid for itself. I don't know, but we do have Hellions on the way here from MorroW, and I'm going to be curious to see how Red is going to defend against this. Maybe with more Queens, we'll see, but for now, we're going to have MorroW head over to that third base to confirm its existence.
Yeah, but as the Hellions move over there, that does give Rhett a little bit of extra time that he needs to lay down that extra creep tumor on the low ground. This means that he's going to have a much easier time spreading creep. And actually, the Hellions just sitting by the Zelnaga Watchtower, waiting until he gets 4 or so, I think, before he starts to put on the pressure. And behind this, he's also going for the Widowmine drop, loading it up and sending it across the map. But right now, it's going to be passing right underneath an Overlord.
Yeah, again, good scouting from Red, although he did lose one Overlord by sending it into MorroW's base just a few moments earlier. Another Overlord. MorroW is expanding off of this, taking a third base. Oh my gosh, met by 3 Queens. That drop is so close to dying, and it dies, fully loaded. Nothing let out of that medevac.
And Red taking the, I want to say first blood minus that Overlord from earlier on, but a really nice first kill. These Hellions trying to do some damage, but they're not really able to do a whole lot of the natural. And even at the third, I mean, there's not really anything to kill there. Red has a lot of Zerglings. I do want to note, though, but Zergling speed has just finished up finally, though. So these Hellions are going to have a much more difficult time doing a whole lot of damage.
Yeah, and I guess like that, Red is going to be able to defend his base pretty well, I have to say, from any upcoming harassments. He's also going with the double upgrades now on 2 Evolution Chambers, both +1 Carapace as well as melee attack. And MorroW's doing the same thing on his end with the Engineering Bay upgrades too, +1 armor and attack as well.
Yeah, both of them getting out those upgrades. I also want to note MorroW gone for the 3cc style. He's now starting to get on those barracks, starting to get up his tech labs, or sorry, reactors, and really just kind of getting into power mode. So we're going to start to see MorroW explode into production in a couple of minutes. So Red still has a little bit of time. He's going to try and use his Zerglings, try and catch these Hellions. Oh my god, he's actually going to catch all of them. Red going to be able to do a massive amount of damage, giving himself so much map control with this play.
Oh, absolutely. I think Rhett honestly has routed MorroW in just these 2 engagements. Catching all those Hellions like that, that fully loaded drop, really no damage done by MorroW so far in the early game. And as you say, Fear Dragon, if Liquid Red is the king of drones,
oh my god,
you want to do damage to the dude. He's on 75 drones right now, and he is not skipping a beat.
75 drones. He's taking his fourth expansion already and getting up to Spire. He's powering out more Zerglings. I mean, we're only at the 10-minute mark right now, Droopy, and Red is basically prepared for an almost late game-esque ZVT right now. MorroW, he's trying to knock down these rocks. He's taking his third expansion. He's in a good position in that regard, but I feel like he's just slowly starting to fall further and further behind. His aggression has not been working out.
No, not at all. And as such, we see Red just playing I guess you can even say greedy, but in a good way. Look, he's getting research all over the place. +2 armor and attack for the Lings. We have Baneling speed
Ooh.
and Aspire. Usually it's a choice of whether you go Spire or Baneling speed at this time. You don't do both, but MorroW is letting Red do it.
Oh, 10 more seconds until Centrifugal Hooks finishes up these Banelings, trying to go for the engagement right now, at least try and force these Marines back, but I don't think that they are going to be chasing off of creep. No, they do continue. He's going to have to back up over here, though. The 4th expansion could be taking a little bit of damage, but now Baneling speed finishes up. A great split, or at least dropout by MorroW, actually wasting a lot of the Baneling hits, and MorroW going to be able to trade relatively cost-effectively there, but again, he hasn't done much damage, and now the Zergons are in his natural.
Yeah, he still needs to defend this, get back to mining ASAP. This delay in basically getting those minerals is not helping his cause right now. And looks like Red is starting to put on the offensive himself, and he clobbers that. No, there is a lift just in the nick of time. MorroW saving those units there.
Very cute micro from MorroW, keeping those units alive and just kind of dropping back and forth over that ridge, really abusing it, and be able to get off a lot of really good Hellion shots, but oh my god, oh, MorroW ends up losing quite a few units over there. Even loses one of the medevacs, unfortunately.
Right now,
Droopy, MorroW's down like 50 supply right now. The Mutalisks are going to be coming out. He's going to have a harder time doing drops and harassment now. Red is in complete control in this game.
Absolutely. 82 drones right now. He's going to be getting 2-2 shortly, whereas MorroW still a ways behind there in the bio upgrades. Red is just firing on all cylinders right now. 4 bases, and, you know, it's only going to get worse if MorroW cannot make something happen here with these upcoming engagements.
Yeah, luckily for MorroW, he's been doing a pretty good job of trying to keep the creep spread at least on the minimal side. It's not exactly outreaching across the entire map, but even still, MorroW just doesn't have that many units to do a whole lot with. The drop in the main base does get cleaned up by the Mutalisks. Mutalisks now heading over to the center of the map to try and clean up those medevacs that are trying to push in.
Yeah, right now we're going to see Red gear up for an attack here. Banelings are being morphed in the back. Oh, are these Lings going to be able to surround all these Marines in the front? And they will. But the Banelings don't commit just yet, waiting for those Widow Mines to go off. And indeed, all those units do fall. My goodness. Red stomping through in the mid game. GG from MorroW. And that is a 1-0 lead now for Liquid Red.
Droopy, I asked a question at the very beginning of this game. I said, I've been seeing a decent bit of MorroW. I've been seeing him around. He's been streaming quite a bit.
Yeah.
But Red, I wasn't so sure about. Droopy, Red looks pretty good right now. This is bringing me a little bit of chills right now. Red is looking almost kind of like how he used to, that big, very fearsome force after I've got to say, kind of not really being super active, not necessarily in terms of like not playing, but he hasn't been getting a lot of results and everything lately. And this is the kind of Red that I always wanted to see return.
Yeah, and you know, there's always something interesting too about a player who's returning. They're kind of an unknown for that period of time. Like, it's not like MorroW goes into this game like, oh, I know exactly what he's gonna do, right? So because of that, maybe game one is kind of that mission where you just sort of feel out your opponent. You know, win or lose, it's still a best of 5. You got some other games to, you know, make some adjustments, and perhaps MorroW can do that, work out sort of a better opener as far as getting in harassment and damage, because as we just saw, if you don't do any pressure on Red and just let him drone up to 75 by 9 minutes, that's going to be a problem for you.
Yeah, it's like the tempo song goes, drone so hard. Huck's trying to outmind me. But Red is he's like the king of drones, all right? You can't let him just sit back for too long, or he will get into that ultra comfortable position. He has a very, very strong base in his fundamentals, his mechanics, his ability to power his economy and get exactly into the place he wants to with the late game. And you just saw that, right? You saw that where MorroW tried to put on that light bit of pressure with the Hellions fairly late on, after Red had the time to get up his creep spread, to get up everything he wanted to, and you saw that supply differential just gradually increase. It started with 10 supply, then around the time the attack came in and like was finally fended off, it was 20 supply. A couple minutes later, it was 50 supply. A little bit later on, like MorroW was trying to push him with his main army, his big attack. and he was 60 supply down. Like, you can't really afford to. I know that Terran's supposed to be cost effective, Droopy, but not that cost effective.
No, and if anything, Moro was anything but cost effective. Losing a lot of units early on definitely did not help his cause. Just, he was really falling behind so early that it was so difficult for him to, make anything happen. So
Yeah.
pretty much in StarCraft, like it all comes down to, how things start out in the game a lot of times. So if Moro could have a better start in game 2 here, we could see perhaps a more evenly matched game.
Yeah, and I'm actually thinking. I've been thinking about this actually for a lot during that game, and it goes back to the very early part of game number one, and it goes back to that very fast Overlord speed. And I'm starting to
Yeah.
think like I think that
Yeah.
might have been a really cool play, because
Hmm.
what I think Rhett may have been doing there, and I'm not 100% sure about this. I'd have to ask Rhett myself. But I feel like he may have actually been getting the Zergling speed upgrade ready. You mine the gas, you get ready for Zergling speed because you want to deal with the
Hmm.
Reaper, you want to deal with the early Hellion harass.
Right.
But when he sees that the Reapers are just not coming, why even bother with the early Zergling speed? You don't need to invest in that Zergling speed so early. Instead, he goes for the Overlord speed upgrade. He sees the starport and he sees the factory both without add-ons. So he is very much ready for the drop. He knows that there's basically going to be a Hellion drop coming out. Sorry, not a Hellion drop. He knows that there's going to be the Widowmine drop or some kind of drop coming out. So because of that, you think about like the aggression that MorroW did try to do, not just with the Hellions, but also with the Widowmine and everything, the drop that got picked off almost immediately. He had all of the queens ready and waiting there because he got that early Overlord speed upgrade, because he was able to immediately see that drop coming in and was able to prepare for it. MorroW, with a little bit of a miscontrol, thought maybe he could get the drop off. He like boosted and he was like, it's 3 queens, whatever. I'll be able to get the drop off anyways. No, he ends up losing it before the units get out. Like, imagine how differently that game looks if Red didn't know that there was the big drop coming. The drop gets off, maybe with like a little bit of damage on the medevac, but then it stops mining in his main base for a little bit, and the
Yeah.
Marines
Yeah.
unload, and they use that mineral line to be annoying, all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
I
And
think that, yeah,
even if not much is killed, at the very least we're looking at some units being made by Ret that aren't drones, right? With the larva. He's got
yeah,
to make some lings to defend. Then suddenly he's got 10 less drones at the time, at 9 minutes, right? Instead of 75, he has like 65. So
yeah. And I like what a gamer McBaggin's saying. Fast Overlord speed, the new meta. I'm feeling it, man. I'm feeling it. Maybe I don't know if you're a Zerg player, go experiment, go try this out, and let us know like if this is like a thing. Like if you don't see the Reaper come in, you just don't research Zergling speed, and you instead go for Overlord speed and get the money scout off that you've always dreamed about doing.
all right, so looking at the poll, guys, who's going to win this series? 85.7% think it's going to be Red. I hope this isn't just a response to game number 1, guys, because you know what? In prior Fight Nights, we've seen this happen so many times. A player goes up 2-0. Everyone thinks it's a lock in that match point game 3. Instead, the other player comes back and wins the whole thing. That's happened so many weeks now.
Yep.
I wouldn't count out MorroW just yet, guys, so don't get fooled.
Yeah, and I also want to point out, actually, it's a really interesting statistic that I heard a very long time ago, but I believe it's still pretty true. Um, the most common game to see a cheese in is game number 2 in a best of 3, best of 5, or best of 7.
Really?
Game number 2 is the most common game to see some kind of proxy racks or cannon rush or whatever. And you know what? Against a player like Rhett, it would make a lot of sense to do it. We were talking about aggression. You can't get more aggressive than some sort of proxy 2 racks.
Yeah, and this upcoming map is going to be Catalina LE. I'm going to be curious to see if he tries to do that, if he just tries to do it in the center, perhaps. Either way, even if he doesn't just, flat out cheese, we could be seeing a lot of Reaper. This is a great map for it, and maybe MorroW will feel like he needs to get an even earlier harassment against Red in response to what happened last game. So I'll be curious to keep an eye out for that.
Yeah. We are going to be getting started with the game relatively soon, guys. I think that MorroW just having a couple of problems joining the game lobby. We may have to
Yes.
remake the lobby or something. But I do want to remind you guys that you are watching Team Gravity Fight Night. And if you actually, guys, you want to see more of Team Gravity Fight Night, be sure to follow the channel over here on Hitbox. And of course, if you're watching this on Team Liquid itself, click on through. Don't watch it through the embed. That's only half the experience. You get the full experience when you go watch it over on Hitbox itself, and you get to see the chat. You get to post GIFs in the chat, especially if you're a
Mm.
subscriber. All kinds of fun emotes. We got polls going, saying right now, who do you think is going to win the series? Looks like actually we got a lot of people voting for Rhett right now. 88.9% in favor of Rhett and 11.1% in favor of Mar. I know that MorroW, he didn't have such a good game number one, but I don't know. I don't know if 11.1% does justice to MorroW's chances in this series.
Yeah, I mean, because a lot of times players in that game number one, they're just trying to test things out, see how it goes, and then they make adjustments. We've seen that, and this is a big reason why there are comebacks on Fight Night so many times, because players will make adjustments to what they see their opponent doing. Like, oh, he tends to like to open this way. Rhett might go for some kind of overlord speed if he doesn't think reapers are coming. Well, maybe
Yeah.
I'll use a build that's just slightly earlier than that drop I did to catch him off guard.
Yeah, exactly. It's those kind of really, really fun things that are always this is the best part about something that's not like a ladder game, right? In a
Yeah,
ladder game, unless you're, I guess you're like, there's some players that they'll ladder and they'll basically play like a best of 27 with their opponent because they just keep hitting each other over and over again. But
right.
in most situations, like it's a best of one. You're thinking about this game. You don't even know if you're gonna play again.
Yeah.
But in this, you know that you can play sort of the long con. You can try things out and say, you know what, I'm okay with losing this game because it's just this game. I'm not going to be losing the series here. I'm willing to try out the cheese. I'm willing to try out these different strategies or adjustments and work with different play styles to see how they do against my opponent.
Yep. Absolutely. So we'll see on Catalina LE if MorroW has any new tricks up his sleeve, because now would be the time to use them.
Now would definitely be the time to use them. Again, game number 2. Most common time to see a cheese. We're going to be jumping into this game and seeing how exactly MorroW plans to bring this series back as we spawn down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map. Catalina on top of the red Terran player representing Team Property and currently down 0-1. It is MorroW.
And this player on the 1 o'clock position of Catalina LE, Blue Zerk, had a pretty easy time last game, just, droning all the way to 75, getting 4 bases, anything he wanted. Is it going to be as easy for him this time, though? Playing for Team Liquid, it is Rhett.
All right. Game number 2, Rhett. Not doing anything crazy. I honestly, I don't think I can count the number of times that I've seen Rhett cheese. Not because it's been so many times, because I actually I'm struggling trying to think of a time that I've ever seen Rhett go for some kind of early pool or anything of the sort. He's just so comfortable in that late game. I've never really seen him early pool. And I
Yeah.
wonder if MorroW can abuse that.
Well, let's look at what MorroW's doing. Speaking of which, 11 racks, 11 gas. I'd say that's a lot
Oh.
earlier. Well, not a lot, but it's an SCV earlier, right? Usually it's 12-12 on these two structures. So, yeah, I do think MorroW wants to, get aggressive early game as opposed to last game. So let's see and find out if he's gonna go get that Reaper out.
Yeah, Rhett's also going to be scouting out MorroW last. He sends out at first Overlord to the left-hand side of the map. MorroW did not spawn over there. He's on the bottom side. So MorroW going to have the optimal kind of luck with his scouting, although he may actually be scouting in the wrong position first. We'll have to wait and see. Is this SCV you're going to turn? He does! All right. MorroW getting the best situation possible for this build. We'll see how well it ends up working out, because, I mean, he's also up against a hatch first.
Yeah, that SCV gonna just confirm the location of Liquid Red, and then the Reaper's on its way, almost gonna pop here. In fact, so pretty much Red's gonna get a nice welcome from MorroW pretty shortly.
Yep, SCV moving in. And do you think that he uses this as, I've seen some,
Uh,
Terran players that like to build the bunker, they like to build those safety bunkers, and I think that MorroW very much feeling it. I want to know, this is out of vision range until that Overlord pop. Now Rhett knows about it, though.
Yeah, Rhett knows about it. Gonna start pumping out additional queens here as well as lings. And I guess there's no doubt here that he's going to be getting speed, right? Except he doesn't quite have the gas for it yet. So this Reaper is going to have a pretty fun time here until that queen pops. Oh, that drone almost dying, but MorroW doesn't pursue, and it builds that safety extractor.
First blood given to the Reaper, killing off one of those drones, but the Reaper actually getting very low in health. He's staying on creep as well. Drone's trying to go for the block, but unfortunately not quite able to get. Reaper gets off of creep and going to be able to retreat back to the safety of the bunker. Maybe. Oh, Red, very tricky plays, trying to get the big surrounds on the Reaper, but MorroW controlling his Reapers very well.
And Rhett is able to get rid of the threat of the bunker, forcing the salvage. Second Reaper is finished. Third is going to pop and come on the way too. So with this, I'd imagine that MorroW is still planning to go 3CC. He's not going to do a 2-base, heavy timing despite what happened last game. But this is serving as a lot better harassment than the previous game. Oh, is he going to be able to get another drone? He does. And this is starting to work out pretty well for MorroW if he can get a third drone snipe. But no, he's going to lose that Reaper. And, MorroW's not back on to 2 now.
Yeah, that is actually a big deal. He kills off another drone with his last remaining Reaper right now, as he does have the other Reaper sitting outside the natural. But the difference between 2 Reapers and 3 Reapers is the fact that 3 Reapers is enough that you can start to pick away and micro away to kill off a queen. 2 Reapers, not quite enough. It takes a much longer period of time. So he's going to lose out on that potential. That's the reason why you go for 3 Reapers in this in this matchup. You don't do it just because, oh, well, 3 is a bigger number than 2. You do it so you can kill off queens.
Yeah, definitely, because queens generally are that one unit that will make things harder for Reapers. But once you get up a certain amount, like you said, it is possible to keep up the harassment. And you know what? I think just in the early stages of this game, we already see a difference from the last one, right? A lot of harassment done, forcing out these Zerglings, for instance, punishing Rhett for the later speed that he tends to try to go and get. And now we have a couple of Hellions out here to basically fend off this Ling pressure here. So MorroW going to be able to now macro up.
Yeah, I also want to note that Rhett did make a decent number of those Zerglings earlier on. I mean, had to make 8 Zerglings or whatever. And even those, 4 remaining Zerglings that are still left alive, they're getting chased down by the Hellions and the Reapers. When the next set of Hellions pop out, he can actually start to put on some pressure, and Red is not going to be able to really drone up quite as heavily as maybe he would like to, but he's got 4 gas geysers. I don't know if he's actually looking to drone up that heavily. He looks like he may be going for a 2-base Spire play.
Yeah, that Lair's finishing up, so you are definitely right on the bat with that. And yeah, there's a Spire going down here as well as a Baneling Nest. So no third being taken either, but we're starting to see some pressure being put on by MorroW. Hellions and these Reapers on the ground going to deny that freshly laid creep tumor. We also have a Banshee on the way too, so that's going to add another extra element here to MorroW's pressure.
Yeah, really subtle things by MorroW, keeping the Reapers out in the front to absorb the first shots from those queens. Reapers will regenerate the health. He can disengage and re-engage with more health regenerating the Reaper. It's effectively like not taking any damage at all while you still get to dish it out. So really small, subtle micro plays that are going to play a big impact later on. But the Banshee going to be able to come over to this third, and if the queens are busy with the Hellions and the Reapers, what's there going to be there to defend against the Banshee?
Yep, and I do not spot a Spore anywhere just yet, but there are 3 queens. There is no cloak. That's probably something important to point out, so that these queens will be able to deny any Banshee harass. But we're about to have we're about to have a PP, but I was going to say that the Hellions... He's got
to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, he did have some issues before the game, so hopefully those aren't carrying over. But I was going to say that there are Hellions heading over to that third base on the bottom.
Yeah. It's sort of an interesting decision. I've always been sort of perplexed a little bit by Terran players that decide to do this, where they go in for the harassment into the drone line with the Banshee, which, kind of makes sense. Banshees do damage to drones pretty quickly. But then they'll go to the third with the Hellions and the Reapers, which, I always thought was a little bit like backwards, because, the Banshee does like a lot of damage, just straight up, especially to a single target. So I always feel like the Banshee, if you start just wailing away at the third with the Banshee, you'll eventually actually be able to get it to a very, very low hit points. Whereas the Hellions, I feel like, Hellions roasting drones, that's like what they're amazing at, right? So I've always been kind of curious by those sort of decisions.
Yeah, I can understand that from your standpoint. I mean, the other thing too is that if the Banshee is attacking at third, what can the Zerg do to defend it? Bring a bunch of queens over, right? But that might
Yeah,
take
yeah.
a lot more time than they'd like. But I don't know. I guess the Hellions staying at the third, they have a better chance of staying alive as opposed to heading into the main or
That's
natural.
true.
And then if they can stay alive, then you can continue to use them later on for things like map control, controlling creep spread, because
Yeah,
you don't
yeah.
want to make any more of those. You want to transition to bio.
Yeah, that definitely makes a lot of sense. Well, Banshee's going to come in over here into the main base, try and see what damage it can get done. Queen's already over there and ready and prepared to deal with it, but at the same time, we ended up having a Rhett try to do an attempted Zergling run by over the natural.
Yep. And yeah, I mean, Rhett just stabilized here, no issues. He defends that Banshee just fine, but again, look at the difference between this game and the last. 45 drones to 53 SCVs. Not only is Rhett having a lot less drones than before, he has even less workers than MorroW. And his third, came a lot later. So just the
Yeah.
harassment, the change in the early game can really dictate how things end up for the rest of it.
Droopy, the difference between the last game and this game at the 10-minute mark, uh, minus the fact that Rhett also has the Mutalisk out right now, but Rhett was also sitting up 25-ish drones, and it's really, Rhett has felt like he's had to go for this kind of early Mutalisk. He's had to do something to kind of respond to the early pressure that MorroW's been putting on, and Marines are coming out. They're going to be able to chase off these Mutalisks for a little bit, since they also do have Stim finished up, but it does make things a little bit more awkward. And MorroW's not going to really be able to put on the pressure as he was before now. So this is Rhett's opportunity to do some damage. And, ooh, if he kills off combat shields, that would be nice.
Oh my gosh, MorroW pulling SCVs to repair. They don't get there in time, and it does go down. And this is actually a really good opportunity for Rhett to do damage because we don't have many medevacs out for MorroW yet. Well, now he has 2 more. But basically the point I was trying to make is that if he overstims, those Marines are going to be an issue later on. Not anymore, though. But but the point is, yeah, I mean.
Healthcare has arrived, man. Healthcare has arrived.
Yes, it has. Thank God for that.
All right. Well, MorroW now going for the big push out over to the third expansion. Now, this third expansion, it can be a bit annoying to defend, especially when you start talking about the Mutalisk, just because I mean, you can see right now, they can move between the main base and the third expansion so easily, and there's almost always going to be these kind of vulnerabilities. The add-on available for being picked off over there, and even if you try and load your units up into the medevac like MorroW just tried to do, you risk it getting picked off by the Mutalisks.
Yeah, and these Mutalisks are also just going after these add-on buildings, particularly the reactors that take always a very annoying amount of time to rebuild, right? Tech Labs,
Yeah.
not nearly as much. But yeah, Red is doing some pretty good harassment here. And it's not necessarily just about the damage done. It's also about keeping MorroW away from his prized possessions here. I mean, because this is a time where a Terran would love to start doing drops, love to start spreading the Zerg thin.
Yeah.
But MorroW has to stay home and actually defend against this.
That definitely is one of the big benefits of the kind of build that Red decided to go for. The 2-base Spire play really gives you a lot of map control. And you can even see that map control has also been able to spiral itself out of control with a creep spread, just because MorroW's been so busy leaving his Marines back inside his main base, dealing with the Mutalisk, trying to secure his third expansion, and look at how crazy the creep spread has gotten. I mean, it's already at MorroW's third expansion. Now, granted, it's a pretty close third expansion to the Zerg bases, but actually, that's something we haven't really talked about too much. How close these two players are right now. And normally I would say that kind of favors the Terran player.
Yeah, I think Rhett was able to, start droning up a little harder during that muter harassment. It bought him some time to kind of get back into the thick of things. But you're right, the Terran still has done a lot of damage early on. And with the Terran on 3 base, you definitely cannot say a Terran doesn't have a good shot here in the mid game. But we're about to see Rhett here perhaps gear up for some kind of a push, moving those Mutas and Banes out. We also have a drop, too, from MorroW heading left.
Yeah, I love one thing that Red has just been doing consistently throughout this series, or these two games that we've seen so far, is he's always got those Zerglings ready and waiting to go for the big run by. As soon as some kind of engagement happens, he runs those in, tries to give some damage. And the Beetle's actually in high enough numbers now that the missile turrets are just not quite enough to deal with them. He's going to be able to do a lot of damage to the main base and have time to retreat back home to defend.
Oh my gosh, it might even take out that CC if the repair doesn't happen. It's really close, and it does go down. The Mutas are able to take out the main. That is really bad news for MorroW. He needs to make something happen with this push right now at the 4th base of Ret to get some kind of retribution.
This is probably the best location that MorroW could have asked for. It's one of the best locations to actually put on pressure versus Zerg, just because having units on the low ground makes it so difficult for the Banelings to land the big hits on. But he is actually not splitting his units. The Banelings get the money hits off, and oh my god, MorroW gets absolutely obliterated there.
Wow, the first half of that engagement looked amazing, right? And then for some reason, MorroW just let his army get completely vaporized by those Banelings, and now he's left holding the bag. We have Banelings now attacking this 3rd base of MorroW. And what's going to be here? Well, let's see if these Marines will be able to save him.
Banelings starting to get picked off. Oh my god, the SCV's running into the Banelings. That's not the right way out of this situation, SCVs. And the command center gets sniped off. Once again, I want to remind you guys, the main command's orbital command got sniped off. The 3rd orbital command got sniped off. MorroW only has one command center really left around right now. He's trying to float one over, but not a lot of mining happening, much less mules going on from MorroW right now.
Yeah, one thing at least MorroW has been able to relatively quickly replace these bases. Generally speaking, losing 2 CCs in a span of 60 seconds is pretty brutal. But these Mutas are still here looking to do some more damage, and MorroW's still having to play catch up here.
Well, Ret going for the engagement against MorroW's Marines. It looks like he feels pretty comfortable in the number of mutals he has. He's going to be able to do some more economic harassment over here. And not only that, but I want to note how important it is that Ret doesn't lose these mutalists, but also that he's keeping MorroW at home. Ret has 5 bases. This 5th expansion is going up right now. So as long as he can just keep MorroW on the defensive, he basically gets to replace his army. Even if he's not taking the most cost-effective trades with the mules, he can replace them. And MorroW really can't. Just look at the banks right now. Look at how he's shutting down this 3rd.
Oh my goodness, Liquid Ret is owning the mid game right now. Just no question about it. He has taken out the 3rd base, and that's too much. It's too much to handle, which is GG now for MorroW. And we're going to have Ret advance to a 2-0 lead. Man, it's all about those mutas made a huge difference when they first popped out. No question about it.
So it's really interesting how that game played out, right? Because we think about game number 1. What went wrong for MorroW? MorroW went for a very passive build. He went for the early, 2 Marines for safety, making sure, he didn't just die to some kind of early aggression, and then go for the reactor, and eventually go for an eventual drop that was like off of a 3cc style and everything. And Ret just had too much time. He just had too much time to power up, get everything he needed to. Didn't have to cut all the corners he wanted, where he didn't get Zergling speed very early on. He got up his 3rd nicely timed. He got up Overlord speed so that he could get the full scout off and everything. Game number 2 played out very differently, though, right? Ret did finally get into that comfortable late game position, but it was only after going for the 2-base Spire play that really helped him seize control of the map. So I actually don't even know what MorroW should be doing in this next game. It's kind of like we're talking about MorroW needs to try and adapt to what Ret's doing. Ret's actually just he's kind of making it hard to adapt to. He's kind of changing up into different builds and different play styles pretty well.
I see this as MorroW needing to fix like a different phase of the game after every match, right? We have him needing to shore up that early game strategy, which he did, but then the mid game strategy this time around is what needs work. And I think a big thing that could help him out going into game number 3 is responding a lot better to that 2-base Spire play, because really he should have known that that was coming when he saw that 3rd being made so late. And immediately he should have been starting to think, okay, I got to get ready for the mutas that will be coming. Because when those mutas first arrived, there were no missile turrets. I know he had the Marines. He was able to hold them off eventually, but he's got to run around his base trying to do that. He
Yeah,
is
yeah.
losing some production structures, some add-on buildings here and there that he has to replace. All those things, those little things add up to slow you down as Terran, and eventually you will pay for it. And we saw that happen.
Yeah, and it's actually kind of interesting because, I felt like MorroW did like he did like an okay job with defending against the Mutalist harassment and everything. Surprisingly, not only did he not really get a lot of missile turrets up for when the Mutals pop, but he also didn't ever really make Widow Mines, which
Yes.
is sort of a stylistic thing, but he also didn't get Thors or anything to deal with the Mutals, which
Mhm.
again, it really starts to hurt because you can have the Marines to defend against the Mutalist harassment in the early stages of the game, but as you get to the later stages of the game, you saw what Rhett does when you don't have Widow Mines or Thors or a lot of missile turrets down. The Mutals just kill the missile turrets. You can't even repair them fast enough because the Mutals count just got so big. So
Yeah.
not only
Yeah.
that, but I think that really the key critical factor for that game came down to that harassment or that aggression that MorroW tried to put on over at the fourth expansion, and quite frankly, like the lack of the splits versus the Banelings, everything, losing
Mhm.
that entire army like that. I think that was like the big not okay moment for MorroW. If MorroW can make sure that like that doesn't happen again, at least maybe then he continues to push in. He trades the armies out. Maybe he kills off a decent number of the Mutalists as Rhett tries to defend his fourth expansion. And then the Mutals aren't murdering all of his tech labs and his command centers, his main base, and his third expansion. He has a little bit more breathing room to macro up his army and continue the pressure. But because Rhett was able to kill off that entire army and still keep both his fourth expansion and his entire army alive, or like most of his army alive, that was the big problem for me.
Yep. And we'll see if MorroW can shore up that game number 3 or that mid game in game number 3. But for now, guys, just wanted to let you know about the wonderful, wonderful thing that is Hitbox TV. This is a
Mm-hmm.
streaming service we're using for this show match. We've been doing it for 10 weeks now. And if you guys aren't watching this on hitbox.tv/Team Gravity, you are missing out. I just saw a bunch of GIFs being posted in that chat. There's a poll going on. Let's see if that poll has changed in the numbers. Yeah, it's MorroW's getting a little more love now at 30% as far as who's going to win the series. And if you guys haven't been watching this on hitbox.tv, you can come here and participate in that poll and just have a lot of the exposure to some of these really cool features that Hitbox provides.
Yeah, and right now we do actually have that poll going for who people think are going to win the series. Right now we're still sitting at 70% Rhett, 30% MorroW. So Rhett's still pretty favored right now, but MorroW's starting to climb back up there. He was sitting at 11% earlier on, but I think people have some faith in MorroW, but he's definitely got to make some changes. I honestly, you know what? There's a reason why MorroW's the one playing this match and not me, because I don't know what those changes need to be. MorroW's got a hard situation to figure out, but we'll see if he can do it as we go ahead and spawn up here in the top side of the map. Vani Research Station on top of the blue Zerg player. He has been playing the series out phenomenally so far and setting up 2-0. It is, representing Team Liquid, Rhett.
And on the bottom, guy is facing a 0-2 deficit. It is match point, guys. Winner of this is going to be taking home $10. The series, that is. But this player right here has a little bit of work to do to climb out of this hole. It is the red Terran on the bottom, playing for Team Property. Ladies and gentlemen, this is MorroW. Fear Dragon, I was just thinking about
What's
something.
up?
So
Okay.
after game 1, the poll had MorroW's chances of winning at what, 11%, and then now it's 30. I almost see this as a poll, not so much as a poll of who's winning, but more so of
People want
how well
so-
MorroW's playing in the game.
Oh,
So in game 1, maybe he was playing all right for 10% of the game.
yeah.
And then last game, he played well for 30% of the game because he had a very good mid game.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe that's what the poll is reflecting more than anything.
Hey, that's a good way of looking at it, because I think that MorroW he did handle that last game a lot better. He got into a much later stage before I think he started falling really further behind. And if MorroW can, I mean, he's sitting already at 33% now, so maybe he's going to be doing at least 3% better. We'll have to wait and see. Go ahead and vote for MorroW if you think that he can bring it out and bring the big comeback, because last chance, match point right now. He's already going to be opening up with a Reaper opening once again.
I'm very curious to see if MorroW is going to dial up even more aggression early game on this map and go back to drops, because Vonnie Research Station is his choice of map here. It is a obviously fantastic map for drops, given the location of the natural for both players. So really, the early game aggression worked out well for MorroW. Perhaps if he goes even crazier with it, it might just throw Red off further so that he can't make that 2 base mutant play. I don't know. Just a thought.
Yeah. No, I like that idea, and we'll see if he can manage to make that happen. He's going for the command center right now. Looks like he's not going to be following it up with too many more Reapers, just going for the reactor. And we're going to be seeing a sort of more standard Terran play that we end up seeing these days. Just a single Reaper to get the scout off, keep your opponent honest, but Rhett, he's not throwing down any gas guys right now. He's feeling very, very comfortable just kind of sitting this one gasless.
Yeah, that's right. He's just going to rely on Queens to do the initial defense here. And, you know, Vonnie Research Station isn't as good a place for Reapers as it is on other maps, just because you really only have one entrance point in that main. And the drone is sniped by that Reaper. Very nicely done.
Really well done.
MorroW got 3 last time, so if he only gets one drone with one Reaper, I'd say that's about equivalent.
Yeah, I mean, it keeps the Reaper alive. You can move around, get some extra additional scouting information. Even if it gets picked off, like, you'll know where the Zerglings are at the time it gets picked off. So Reaper already doing a very good job so far. Factory popping down from MorroW. Gonna be following up with some Hellion harassment, of course. I'm kind of wondering, do you think that he will end up following it up with another kind of Banshee play again?
Well, it all comes down to what he does next with his minerals. If he takes a third right here at 536, if he doesn't, Banshees are a pretty decent likelihood. But if it isn't Banshee, we're gonna see a larger air component in his upcoming harass without a third.
Yeah, the barracks has landed suspiciously close to where that starport is. So I'm starting to wonder, like, is the barracks gonna start a tech lab and reactor actually going down? So we may just, yeah, it looks like we may just end up seeing a good old Medivacs popping out.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a great place to do a drop. Not here physically, obviously in the natural, but the Reaper is trying to deny this third and is able to just delay it a tad bit. Every bit counts, I suppose.
Yeah.
Speed is finally being researched here. Yeah, it is annoying.
All right, well, Hellions and Reapers trying to move in, just trying to do what they can to shut down the creep spread. They go after one of the creep tumors, but no, it finishes up in time. And once again, Rhett has enough creep tumors that these Hellions and Reapers are going to have a very difficult time shutting down the creep spread.
Oh, here is the interesting thing now. We have an armory being built here. And more Hellions on the way. This could be a Hellbat style push here that we're going to see from MorroW. There is no third base, so he is looking to try to do a very strong 2-base timing here. And perhaps this is exactly what the doctor ordered, because Rhett seems to find his way into a fantastic mid game the last 2 times. MorroW here may look to nip that problem in the bud.
Yeah, and think about where Rhett is sitting right now. He's about halfway finished with lair tech, but the armory is now finished up. The Hellions are mostly already moved across the map. There's not going to be any time to get up anything except for more Zerglings and Queens. Sure, he could maybe get some Banelings out with the Baneling Nest finishing up, but this is going to be a bit of an annoying defense to pull off.
Yeah, I mean, even if he gets these Banelings out, they're still going to be slow. I mean, with good micro, these Terran units on the ground can be split. Hellbats are more resilient as well, just compared to Hellions. So now we're going to see this this fight commence.
Yep, and Hellbats doing some good damage over here. Banelings going off on some of the Hellbats, but I mean, not really getting a majority of them. Hellbats now on top of the Queens over here, though. This is where it's going to get a bit problematic for Rhett.
Yeah, we'll see if these Queens can transfuse each other. No, there's no transfuse on that weak Queen, and this second one, is it going to go down? It's close. He's more concerned about microing those Hellbats, which he's doing a fantastic job of, but that allows Rhett to get that Queen away, and there's a transfuse to save it, but there are still units here from MorroW. Is he bringing reinforcements? Look like there's 2 units on the lower side. Not sure what those are. Could be just medevacs, but either way, MorroW still getting in a lot of damage done to these Lings. Hellbats putting in major work here. Micred so well by these medevacs here. And whatever happens, Rhett has spent so much to try to defend this.
He has definitely spent quite a bit, but I want to also note that MorroW's kind of spent a good bit as well. I mean, this Hellbat investment, it has to do some damage. Now he's getting on top of the drones. This is working out a little bit better for him. He's starting to rally in some more of the Hellions. I think he has 1 or 2 idle Hellions slash Hellbats that are kind of not participating in the engagement. This is actually really make this quite a bit easier for him, but he's starting to push up in the natural expansion, or I should say the main base. Starting to do some good damage here.
Man, and it's been so cost effective. MorroW has not lost a lot in this engagement. He's just keeping these Hellbats alive. Remember, they can be healed as well. So when he's lifting them, dropping the weak ones behind, they are being given a fighting chance. And these Hellbats are still putting in so much work. Finally, the medevac is taken out. That is going to lead to this attack being held. But man, oh man, look at that units lost tab. 3299 resources lost by the Zerg, 2100 by Terran. I'd say this was a very good deal for MorroW.
Yeah, no kidding. He still has a couple of Hellions left over that are going to try and do some nice harassment. They're probably going to stay as hell. Oh, God, actually, they run past the Zerglings. And there's even a medevac still left over there to pick him up. Oh, well-positioned medevac. Well played.
Now, here is one somewhat dangerous thing following this attack. We're seeing the Spire finishing up. Now, granted, there's not a lot of gas for Red, so he's not going to be able to get out many mutas too soon. But MorroW this time needs to have a better response for mutas than he did last game, or else he's going to throw away whatever lead he just accomplished for himself here.
This is kind of what I meant by he invested a lot into the attack. When you go for the big Hellbat push, you're investing a lot into just producing as many Hellions and Hellbats as possible. You also kind of slack on the SCV count for a little bit, and he's gone ahead as soon as the aggression ended. He just started building reactors and tech labs and everything else on his buildings. He wasn't really making a lot of Marines, so he has 9 Marines out. No Widow Mines, no Thors, no real responses besides the fact that he does have 2 missile turrets in each base, which is going to be good. But is it going to be enough? Is it going to be enough to defend against the Mutalisks, not just picking away at the SCVs, but also defending the add-ons, defending all the different locations he has to defend?
Another thing he was slacking on too is upgrades. We're only seeing 1-1 finish now, whereas 2-2 is already well on its way for Liquid Red. But the thing is, with Liquid Red spending so much gas on all these upgrades, he hasn't quite built any mutas until now. So that is giving MorroW a bit more time here to get up more turrets. We already have 2 more in the main base for him. So I think this time around, he will be better prepared for mutas. A Thor is about to pop too.
That's a really good point that I want to know. It actually goes back a lot to the Hellbat push also, because think about how many Banelings he made to defend against those Hellbats and how many Banelings he actually still has around right now. These are Banelings that normally a Zerg player would be like, oh, I wish that these were kind of Mutalisks so that I could put on more pressure. But they're not. They're Banelings that are just going to sit around until finally the Terran player pushes out, or Rhett feels like going for a big attack, which is not going to be anytime soon. It's kind of a wasted early investment that could have been Mutalisk for harassment.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why they always say, you know, don't make Banelings until you're ready to use them, right?
Yeah.
And, these Banelings have been just sitting around because they were made to defend. And that's kind of the trick with dealing with Zerg, right? You want to force them to make stuff that they don't want to. And when you can do that, that will slow down a Zerg's teching, their macro altogether. And that's why the mutas are only going to pop now at 15 minutes.
Yeah. One blue flame Hellion makes its way into the natural, or the third expansion of like Red. It's like behind the mineral. I have no idea how it even got there. It wasn't even attacking anything, but it does get picked off, and blue flame is revealed. So Red maybe has to be a bit careful about that blue flame upgrade, especially with all the Hellbats now with blue flame. Oh, this is going to be a very scary push out from MorroW.
Oh, this is going to be very strong indeed. Not a lot of Banelings right now. There are 14, but they can very well be micred against that. Thor can absorb a lot of those shots. If MorroW can split, of course, this is going to be a very hard army for Red to defend against.
Yeah, Crease Raid really delaying MorroW, though. He doesn't want to get too aggressive. As you were saying, the Baneling's going to be a bit problematic, but 29 Banelings just finished up. And that is going to cue Red to try and put on a bit of pressure, making sure MorroW doesn't get over-aggressive. MorroW has to wait for the creep spread to recede, or this is just going to be a tremendously more difficult push-in to make happen.
I think that red is having a little too easy a time gearing up for a defense here. I would really love to see MorroW throw this off by splitting off a drop to that natural just to make it so that red has to bring some units over there and then MorroW can push on to creep. Because the way things are right now, you can see red setting up on multiple sides here. These banelings trying to get some kind of surround. These lings are even running behind these units, and they're going to look to do a run by on the third. Red is doing what he can here to buy himself time, but MorroW's now going to push on a creep.
I love the SimCity, by the way, over at MorroW's third expansion. It makes it very difficult for the Zerglings to get into a good position. But the Banelings now exploding on top of the army of MorroW. They're doing some good damage to Thor's, able to do some good damage to the Mutalisk, and there's a lot of Marines and Thors left over.
Yeah, but these Banelings may change that. The Banelings have crashed into that second Thor, and they all do clean up the rest of the Terran army, but pretty much all the army of Rhett was lost, too. I mean, those Mutas were right on top of the Thors. Yeah, there's that drop in natural I was looking for.
Yeah, and Zerglings are still actually doing the damage over in the third expansion. They finally do get cleaned up, but the drop in the natural also gets cleaned up as well. And I mean, a very big trade from both sides, but look at the army supply. This is the big difference. Rhett had the 4-base economy, had been maxing out, had a bank building up, and he's already getting remaxed. He's already still building 7 more Mutals. He's got Zerglings and Mutals already on the other side of the map, and he's getting ready to put on the pressure. MorroW has a 4th expansion, but he can't really even start mining from it yet. Oh, although Rhett moving in without Banelings into the army, not ideal.
Oh, Mutas are about to enter that natural for MorroW, but they are quickly repelled by missile turrets. But there are some more Mutas on the way, though. That may be enough to overpower the turrets that are in here. But MorroW is actually moving further and further away from that natural. This is where Vani Research Station works against Terran, by the way, because your opponents have air units too. So MorroW now is going to fly over a Thor to try to utilize that and chase off the Mutas.
Yeah. Really nice micro from MorroW, chasing off those Mutalisks, even though a lot of the missile turrets have been picked off. And I like the fact that MorroW is very consistently replacing those missile turrets. Got 2 missile turrets going up, knows that, you know what, is no sense in kind of sparing expenses on missile turrets at this situation.
Now, one thing that can help MorroW going into the late game here is that his 3-3 is about to finish. Rhett only getting his infestation pit now, so he's gonna be a ways away from getting a hive, much less starting 3-3 on the Zerglings. So if he can utilize this upgrade advantage here to start putting on some aggression, because he really hasn't done that much economic damage to Rhett since really the early Hellbat push. So if he can start making this happen, he can set himself up a lot better here. But otherwise, Rhett is just going to be able to replace his units easily with 87 drones, 4 bases. Something is going to need to change soon if MorroW wants a chance.
Yeah. It's pretty interesting how this is actually end up working out right now. We're getting to that point where MorroW's trying to take a 4th and 5th expansion at the same time. Oh boy, the Banelings going after the SCVs right now. They're trying to make the big connection, but the SCV is doing a good job of running away. Banelings, oh, they're getting some good hits. Pretty decent hits. 47
could have been a lot worse.
I mean, the 5th expansion gets cleaned up, though. That's going to be a bigger problem, but all of these Banelings trying to go for the big hits off of creep, I don't think that worked out too well for Rhett in terms of like the army engagement. He did a lot of economic damage, but he lost a lot of army there.
Yeah, and economic damage to Terran by taking out workers in the late game isn't as big a deal just because of mules, but I guess that will force a Terran to have less scans later on. But man, if you want to talk about economic damage done, 40 workers killed by Rhett so far in this game to the 13 of MorroW. That's a pretty huge difference. He's looking to do even more with these Mutas now flying by that 3rd base. Yeah,
no missile turret over there, and MorroW's going to be able to kill off that gold expansion in the top right-hand corner, but he's on a long retreat path back home. Oh my god, the planetary fortress most likely going to just get focus fire down as well. MorroW tries to move out for the aggression, but has such an immobile force it takes him ages to come back home.
Yeah, and Rhett taking out that base, he's like, oh, I don't need to engage you now. And he just backs off, and pretty much MorroW just comes back to an empty base.
Yeah, he's like, what happened? What happened here?
Well, MorroW does have 3-3 now, so that can only help his cause. But he needs to start playing on the offensive a little bit more here. That's his only chance, because as I said earlier, look at Rhett. He's just replacing everything. He's got even more Banelings now than before. And as long as he takes fights on creep, he's gonna have a good time against MorroW. So really, the ball's in MorroW's court here to try to turn things around because Rhett is not feeling any pressure here.
Yeah, going for an engagement off of creep is going to be really important for MorroW as well. And he managed to kill off a lot of these banelings. That's a nice little win over here. And just cleaning up the creep is going to be very important for MorroW because, you know, he needs to take an engagement off of creep. He needs to have a very good engagement because Red is going to have a decent bank going for him now. He's already maxed out. And MorroW needs to make sure that he can deal with not only one army, but also the semi-remax that comes out eventually from Red.
Well, another 37 banelings on the way. It's almost like Red is going to turn every single Zergling into a baneling at this point. He still has not started 3-3.
He has 86 banelings right now.
Yeah,
86 banelings right now, Droopy.
Yeah, more banelings than Zerglings. That's not usually what happens. But
I don't know if you need creep for this kind of engagement if you have that many banelings.
Well, let's see if that's going to be the case. Splits by MorroW are fantastic, but is it just too much quantity of banelings to overcome here? It looks like MorroW has lost a lot. He's down to just a bunch of Marines here. No medevacs here to help the cause, and looks like these banelings are just proving a little too much here for MorroW, but he is able to hold off for now here.
Oh, MorroW could not have asked for a better engagement, but it ends up being an not evenish trade in the sense that MorroW wasn't or was equally cost effective, because MorroW's way more cost effective there. But they both have around relatively even standing armies right now. So Rhett's gonna try and buy himself a little, or use his extra time to get some more banelings up to go for a round 2 of aggression. But I actually think that this is starting to go relatively well for MorroW. MorroW's got those 2 bases mining once again. Rhett is actually starting to mine out his 4th and his 3rd. And if you think about it, the way that this map, Bonnie Research Station, actually ends up going is very soon, Red is going to start only really be mining from that center expansion, the right-hand expansion. I could actually conceivably see MorroW just playing this out very patiently, very safely, and he's just going to have more minerals because in the long term, he's been more cost-effective.
That is true. If you look at that units lost tab, definitely Red has spent more than 10,000 resources throughout this game in lost units. And you know what? The key thing here is you're right. Red is only going to be on 2-base economy very shortly. If MorroW can deny further expansions, it's going to be a huge thing. But look at these banelings. If they can deny SCV mining, that's a huge thing. They all unload into that planetary fortress instead, but that is one less base for MorroW now.
Yeah. Well, Mutals do finally get chased off from that other expansion. MorroW is having a hard time mining. It's hard to go to that late game stage if you are constantly denied from mining. And once again, we see that MorroW is sitting down a solid 65 supply or so. Rhett, gotta be very careful. There's a Widow Mine that's so close to all those banelings. So that's zone like a watchtower right now. Oh my god, MorroW. If he got that hit off, that would be fantastic. But for now, it's just
Widow Mine's already done a lot.
Yeah. Oh my god, he's already up to 16 kills.
Well, I would like to see MorroW press the issue here when he's still got the upgrade advantage. Only 3-3's only been starting, like he's only started the research on 3-3 now, which is fairly late.
Very late.
So in any engagement, MorroW is going to have a better time dealing with the Zerglings and Banelings. But once that 3-3 finishes, and things are going to change. So MorroW here going to engage against these Mutas. Oh, I don't know about those Mutas flying into that. That was not the best decision from Red.
Yeah. Building armor completes. MorroW going to have a slightly easier time doing that defensive play. Those missile turrets going to be a tiny bit harder for those Mutals to pick off. But a lot of Banelings finishing up. Ultraless Cavern is finishing up as well. He's going to need to also probably he might be waiting for Chitinous Plating before he actually moves in, as well as 3-3 to finish up. But I think that once that hits, that is going to be Rhett's big time to make all of the damage happen. But it's a kind of a question. Do you go right now before MorroW's also maxed out? Or do you wait for your upgrades to complete? It looks like Rhett's going to be going in right now.
He is. He's going after that planetary fortress. He sent in that army just to serve as a bit of a decoy as he goes to snipe off that base, and he's able to accomplish that.
Command center doing? This command center is a little bit overly aggressive right now.
Yes, it overextended in its flight path.
Yeah. Let me just start mining for the. What if there was an upgrade where you could start mining for command centers while they were still floating? You could actually return minerals there while they were floating.
That is a scary thought. If you drop mules or something, the mules can just like
Oh my God.
hand the minerals.
You
up.
research an upgrade where the SCVs and mules will start to fly too. That would be fantastic. They're only vulnerable when they're actually like physically mining from the mineral patches.
That is
Legacy of the Void, ladies and gentlemen. Legacy of the Void. Just kidding.
Blizzard. Don't hire Fear Dragon ever as a developer or a consultant for ballots.
Oh my God.
Just saying right now.
Yeah.
We are having
You
a
might
drop
wanna
on
hire
this, on
Oh,
this
yeah.
gold base. And this is what MorroW needs to do here to just deny the remaining mining here for Rhett, as
Oh my
these
God.
Marines are taking out quite a few drones here. The mutas are able to finish off that medevac, so this drop should be held. Interestingly, Rhett is also taking a
Yeah.
new gold base on MorroW's side of the map. So
Exactly.
that's something MorroW might want to deal with as soon as possible.
All right, so Droopy, let's rewind the conversation a little bit. Remember what I said about if MorroW drags this game out, and by drag this game out, I don't mean go into Ravens and throw on auto turrets and try and make this game last as long as possible versus Hormuz. I mean, literally just play really, really scrappy, get really good defensive positions, or good army placement, good splits. You can try and out-economy your opponent and just be more cost-effective in the long term. Your opponent will run out of bases to mine. Red is kind of accounting for this and going for that gold expansion. He's also taking out the expansions of MorroW. Once again, he's going for some decent trades over here, but I don't know. This is a really weird situation.
It is for sure, but I think MorroW is starting to be worn down just bit by bit. He's down to 38 workers. I know he has a lot of command centers, but even so, there's at some point where mules can't make up the difference. He's down by 40 workers right now, and we see Rhett just being a little more vigilant about taking out bases. He's been just running back and forth with those link veins, taking out planetary fortresses here and there, whereas Rhett, his bases have been kind of long-standing. They've just been sitting around longer and mining more than MorroW has, and eventually that's going to pay off for him.
I definitely don't disagree with you, Droopy, but like, the thing is, think about the damage that Red has done. It's almost always been mainly to the economy of MorroW. So MorroW's been sitting on this 3-3-3 with the mech upgrades being a +3 weapons, and even has a couple of one armor upgrade as well. But he's been sitting with his army around 100, 130 supplied almost for the past 15 minutes. And he's even going to have these small little like Marauder run-bys, killing off the gold expansion, forcing Rhett to spend even more money. But now Rhett comes in with the ultras. He's got to do a lot of damage over here. MorroW tries a split, but maybe a little bit too late. Could this be the final engagement that Rhett needed to break through?
Oh, I think it will be, because MorroW is going to have a hard time replacing his army here. It's going to take some time before he can get anything out. These ultras, in the meantime, are going to continue pushing forward here. They will back off, though, with that remaining bio army. Still resilient, I guess, with more Marauders in it. But a transfuse from those queens will get these ultralists nice and fresh. And this battle's still ongoing, my goodness.
Oh god, well thank god that Bonnie Research Station doesn't have a lot of windy breezes, because that's all it's gonna take for these Marauders to just keel over and die. The kiting over here from MorroW has just been so fantastic. I think that Rhett may be having flashbacks of the early Wings of Liberty stages, where basically Zerg players would throw the game by making ultras. Oh my god, is MorroW actually going to be able to defend this? He's losing that orbital command in the center. Oh, that's a little bit painful. Could have lifted that off, but he's defending against the ultras. There's only Zerglings that were being made for Red. He didn't make many more ultras to defend it, and Red also lost that gold, especially at the top right. He's only mining off of that center base right now.
Oh man, he still does have that gold on the bottom
he has
right,
that
though.
secret gold, the secret gold.
And there's some mining that's starting to happen there finally, but I guess
El Dorado right now, man.
that was not cost effective at all for Red. It really was not. Both of these players now sub 100 in overall supply, and if we take a look at income, both seem to be pretty even, but you know what? Just another round of mules can change that for MorroW's favor. And suddenly, MorroW is actually in a good position here.
I want to highlight something, because a lot of people will like look at that and be like, "Oh my God, Game of Thrones." I don't like. Obviously, Rhett probably could have handled that a little bit better, but that was just like really fantastic kiting from MorroW. That was really, really good micro, not just in terms of his stutter set micro backwards with those Marauders, but the locations that he was going to, the angle that he was retreating back with those Marauders really worked out. And now MorroW's finally scouted out this gold expansion. He's trying to do some damage over here, but the Banelings and the Ultra's gonna be able to come in over here and allow these drones to continue mining. MorroW knows he's got to make something happen. He's dropping some Hellbats over this gold at the top right, though, and this could do some nice damage.
Yeah, we're seeing these drones, some of them getting roasted up here. Liquid Red still with 64, as MorroW is now starting to really put on the pressure at some of these mining bases here for Red, because as long as he can delay mining, he's only going to be on one base saturation. It doesn't matter how many drones the guy has if he doesn't have many things to mine from, right? But that Ultralist does clean up that drop.
And we're going to end up seeing MorroW try to put pressure on this gold expansion once again, but it gets cleaned up by the Banelings and the Zerglings. Medevac's luckily able to lift up a majority of the units before they end up dying, but I've got to say right now, Droopy, that MorroW's in a very awkward position where that gold expansion is so important. It's doing so much for Ret in that bottom right-hand side. And even if, let's say MorroW cleans up that gold, and he manages to take the orbital command, land the orbital command center over there himself, how does he defend it? He's got to defend the left-handmost side of the map and the right-handmost side of the map. The two opposite locations on the map versus the Zerglings, the Ultras, the hyper-mobile force right now of Ret. And I feel like that's going to be a bit difficult for him. He's already spread thin.
He is, but he does take out that gold base, which is going to limit greatly the mining that Liquid Red can do.
Wow!
He GG's.
Oh my god!
Wow, MorroW, resilient game here.
Okay. So
Jeez.
There's been a vote going on because we're broadcasting on the amazing website hitbox.tv/Team Gravity, and the question was, can MorroW make the comeback? 60% said no way, 40% said yes, no problem with an exclamation mark. And
he's getting more love with every game, I'll tell you that.
40% of the people are saying, you know what, MorroW's looking pretty damn good. Oh my god, that was an amazing game. That was a great comeback from MorroW. Oh my god.
You know, Fear Dragon, I'm reminded of
two more times.
I'm reminded of something you pointed out, that that may be flashbacks for Rhett about, you know, throwing games by making ultras.
Oh, yeah.
I can't say that the ultras were what made him throw the game, but I guess it ties into the fact that there were less mutas, because towards the end of that game, when there weren't any more mutas, we saw MorroW. Yeah. MorroW was able to just deny a lot of the mining in the last 10 minutes, right? Lots of drops, medevacs going here and there. That was a huge difference without mutas being able to deny that.
And I think about it also, like, would there have been a huge consequence to remaxing on Mutalisk rather than Ultralisk or anything else like that? Because, again, I kept looking at MorroW's army. Yeah. There were some Thors mixed in. Mixed in, but they didn't, like, I don't think that there was that much anti-air. And I want to also note, like, Rhett also, he delayed a lot of, like, the late game other, like, tech choices. He delayed things like, for example, Ultralisk go really well with Infestors. If you can get the fungal growths off, that kiting that kept MorroW in the game during that engagement does not happen. It just does not happen. Blinding clouds happening, that also stops, or at least makes it a bit easier to deal with that kiting. Brood Lords make it a little bit more difficult because, you know, you're kiting back, but you're kiting back versus Broodlings, not like the actual power units, while, you know, your power units are starting to die. There's all kinds of other things, like 3-3 was very, very delayed for Red as well during most of those engagements. So there's like a lot of kind of interesting decisions that Red made that, I don't know, it did kind of give me vibes of that whole old school Wings of Liberty, like, oh my god, why Zerg just can't win the late game versus Terran, why aren't they more cost effective? Like, I don't know if Red was maybe feeling some of those frustrations, but I think that there were things he could have done.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, if you're throwing away much more of your army over and over again with every engagement, it is going to add up. And we see Liquid Red basically succumbing to that in the end. But now we're going to head into game number 4, guys. And this is the first time Rhett is able to choose a map of his own. It's going to be on Overgrowth LE. So let's see. I mean, it's a classic map. It's very well balanced. But finally, we're going to see the game happen here. And starting in the upper right-hand corner is going to be the player that, well, now apparently 45%, 47.6% of the viewership thinks can make the comeback. Let's see if that's going to be the case. Representing Team Property and down 1-2 now, still in match point. Ladies and gentlemen, it is MorroW.
Oh my god, this poll, man, is still changing. Now MorroW's actually, he's got the majority vote on this right now at 52.4%. So
Wow.
interesting to watch. But he
wow.
has still got to make it over. It was a very tough opponent, spawning down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map. Still at match point, still one game away from victory in this best of 5. It is representing Team Liquid. Liquid's Rhett. So the early game, Droopy, the early game of TVZ, kind of forgotten a little bit of what that is actually like. But MorroW knows. MorroW thinks that we're still in game number 2 right now because he's laying down a little bit of this aggression. Oh, the SCV gets spotted. The Overlord saw the SCV. He saw it for a second.
Oh my gosh. Was Rhett paying attention?
Was Rhett paying attention? He's so close. He's one hex off. He's one hex off, Droopy, from scouting this Proxy 2 Rex.
Oh my god.
He didn't see it.
Oh my gosh. And he is responding with a 15 hatch. That's going to make life a lot tougher for Rhett here. And you know what? You've been anticipating G since game number 2, Fear Dragon. It's game 4. We're seeing it now. And
Rhett, stop moving the second Overlord. He's not moving his second Overlord across the map. He stopped it outside of his natural. It was on a path to scout out the barracks. Oh my god, Droopy. This is as good as MorroW could ask for his Proxy 2 Rex. He could not ask for a better situation right now. The only thing he could have asked for better is maybe if he got in the barracks a little bit closer.
And for Rhett to have gone 3 hatch before pull.
and maybe Rhett to have just forgotten his spawning pool. I think that's like...
That too,
yeah.
yes. Oh my goodness. Well, he is getting that. He has gotten his refinery as well, so he's definitely going to be able to get speed. Is it going to come in time, though? That's a big question. We're going to see some bunkers probably be laid down at that natural very shortly. And, well, now the Marines have made their appearance. Overlord's going to go down.
Oh my god, Rhett is supply block. He's gonna have 10 Zerglings out. That's gonna be good to buy a little bit of time, but the bunkers are starting to go up right now. MorroW just needs to buy time for the bunkers to finish up. Once he gets the bunkers up, this push becomes infinitely more difficult. More SCVs joining the fray. They're gonna be able to start those bunkers and just kind of piggyback off of each other. Make sure that they actually finish up. Some Spinecrawler's going up though.
Yeah, they are going up, and one in that natural, I think 2 in that natural, as we can take a look here. Yep. And then these Marines, though, taking out a lot of Zerglings. Oh my gosh, 20 out of 12.
He has to make 2 more Overlords. Oh my god, he's not gonna have any more units coming.
Yeah, that Spinecrawler is trying his darndest to take out that bunker, but with those SCVs out of range, repairing it, that Spinecrawler is just gonna eventually, well, it's not gonna do anything. But we have some Queens out now. That's gonna help out greatly here in defending against this, but the Marine count just keeps increasing, and with this bunker in play, oh, a Queen goes down as well.
Well, Rhett's on supply blocked. He's got Zerglings on the way. They're finishing up. 20 Zerglings on the way. 10 of them are about to pop out right now. This is going to be Rhett's only opportunity. If he lets this hatchery die, he's going to be drastically behind, possibly unovercomable. He's going after the bunker. He kills off the bunker. The bunker does die before getting salvaged. MorroW still has 1 bunker left over, though. He's still going to be able to continue a little bit of aggression. The hatchery is still very low on health.
Ooh, if you're MorroW, do you just go for that one big push on that hatchery, finish it off, or do you transition? It's a very tough decision to make, because either way, someone's going to be very behind.
More Marines are starting to move their way across the map. MorroW is realizing that he's already doing a drastic amount of damage. He's making his command center. Look at this! Rhett making a drone in the midst of all of this. He's not afraid. He feels comfortable. He knows that he can defend this at this point. Zergling's speed is on the way. If Zergling's speed finishes up, this aggression is almost certainly going to be over. Rhett has 7 drones on the way. He thinks this push is over. Is this going to be enough? Is MorroW going to be able to kill off this hatchery? Is he going to go for it?
Is it going to be the YOLO moment here from MorroW? If he's going to do it, it's got to be now, because once the speed finishes, like you said, his timing is going to be, his time is going to be up. He's trying to go after one of the spines first, just making sure he doesn't get the hits from both of them, and he is going to be able to finish it off. Now he's going to be able to try to go after the hatchery, but will the Lynx get there in time as well with the Queen in the back? These Marines are in very low health.
Oh my god, all of the low health Marines are sitting in the back. There's still 2 Marines popping out in time. MorroW has reinforcements. Where are Red Zerglings? Some of them are going to be popping out soon, but MorroW's on top of the hatchery again. The Spinecrawler not engaged in the fight. The Zergling's buying time for the Spinecrawler to reposition itself, but it's repositioning itself a little bit too late. The Spinecrawler gets very low on health. MorroW continuing to push in. The bunker still going to be a safety beacon for these Marines, and MorroW keeps them alive. Some Zerglings try and run past, but MorroW kills even those guys off. The hatchery low on health once again, and MorroW still got that natural expansion command center finished up. He's got a 3rd CC on the way too, Droopy.
Oh man, even MorroW's thinking, you know what, even if I can't kill off that hatchery, I'm just going to get way ahead in the economy then. But in the meantime, those 2 Lings are going to be able to take off that SCV on the low ground mining. And I think MorroW may be starting to transition out of this now. He's not going to try to just throw away this lead here by, you know, needlessly throwing himself at that hatchery, but he's way ahead now, and he has to be pretty comfortable with that. He just needs to defend against the Zergling counter, and he's going to set himself up for a fantastic mid-game.
Droopy, I'm sure a lot of you StarCraft viewers out there and everything, as well as Droopy and myself, know that a Terran player, oftentimes they can take big aggression from a 2-base Zerg player, and they could be down in the worker count by a good bit, by a good 15, 20 SCVs, but if they went for the 3CC and they defend against the aggression, they're sitting in a fantastic spot. We have right now a Terran player that's actually not sitting that far behind in the worker counts, and he's not sitting that far behind versus the Zerg player in terms of their army supply. And Rhett is still sitting very far behind with the tech. MorroW's looking fantastic right now.
No question about that, as we are seeing this almost full barracks wall here. MorroW not even going for the supply depot. I think he's concerned about the possibility of a Baneling bust counter here with an all-in from Rhett, but it doesn't appear that that's what Rhett is doing just yet. He is trying to take this 3rd. The barracks will be able to scout it.
Oh, I love this barracks scout.
Yeah, that is. I'm almost every time I see a barracks scout, I want to say, oh, he's probably trying to go mech, but then he's got 3 barracks sitting at that wall, so I don't know.
I don't know, man. Maybe it's in like an Apollo Marine King Prime moment where you say he's building 3 barracks, he's going mech. But I don't think that's actually going to be the case for now. We do actually, I like the scouting barracks because he needs information. He doesn't want to waste his scans because kind of defeats a little bit of the purpose of having the 3CC style. And right now, he can defend against the aggression with the wall-in that he's gone for. He needs to know whether Red is going to be playing overly greedy, kind of like he is right now. He's going for the double expansion of the 3rd and the 4th, going down around the same time. And he's got to do I feel like he's got to do something to kind of try and punish this. His production is going to be finishing up relatively soon. He's going to have a huge influx of units. And I think that's going to be the time that he either needs to go for the push out or at least start dropping, because gotta look, that natural expansion, it's regenerating health, but is it regenerating health fast enough, Droopy?
Yeah, I think it should be fine. It's still going to be a while before MorroW's going to make his move. And if you look at the map right now, Rhett actually has fantastic map control and vision here. He's taking both towers. He's got overlords covering the 2 sides that the towers can't reach. So whatever aggression MorroW does plan, Rhett's going to see it coming, and he will start, you know, basically banging out those Zerglings and whatever he needs to defend. So I do think that Rhett is going to be able to have a better time in this mid game than anticipated earlier. He is on 75 drones right now, and because he did do essentially that double expand, his economy is looking a lot better for it. He's going to start basically cranking out a lot of production of units too.
Yeah, my big concern right now for Rhett is the fact that MorroW is starting to get up those medevacs, and this is the big key critical time where he has medevacs, he has Widow Mines, he has Marines, and he can start putting on the pressure. Rhett is only just starting his Baneling Nest, so he's going to have pure Zerglings to defend against the early wave of this aggression if MorroW moves out now. But I like what Rhett's doing right now. He's trying to buy time. He's using the Zerglings, just pulling MorroW back. He's getting himself time to finish the Baneling Nest and get up the Banelings. And in addition, with his creep spread, this could still work out for him.
Yeah, you would make a very good point there. Red has been focusing so much on his economy just to come back into the game in that aspect. He has delayed his tech, no question. The Spire is about to finish, though. That is going to give him a much-needed tool to defend against any possible drop harassment. And I think that Zergling run-by has just bought himself enough time for him to defend against anything that MorroW can throw at him here.
Yep, MorroW is now starting that move out. He's got a single drop loaded up on the left-hand side of the map. Has a couple Marines ready to clean up some of that creep spread. Actually doing a pretty good job of it right now. And the rest of the army moving along that right-hand side. But Rhett's got the Banelings out now. He doesn't have creep going to the 4th expansion quite fully yet. That right-hand side still has a lot of creepless area that he's going to have to be careful about.
All right, so we're going to see the push now start here from MorroW on this 4th base. Widow Mines are going to burrow, and that's going to send Rhett going backwards here, as he cannot lose those Banelings. There's a drop happening in the main right now as well, and we're seeing a few drones taken out there, but the Lings do arrive in time to defend that. 9 workers killed so far in this game, but Rhett is still sitting at a comfortable 84.
Yeah, and the greed earlier on from Rhett, it's paying off right now. He's in a great position. His Mutals are going to be out really soon as well. Central Vehicle Hooks is finishing up. Even +2/+2 is going to be finishing up in about 50 or 60 seconds. And I don't know if MorroW can make a whole lot more damage happen over here. His army just isn't that scary anymore compared to what Rhett has with the Banelings and the Mutals out.
And another thing that also isn't helping him is the lack of combat shield. He's only starting that now at 16 minutes. So these Marines are going to be much more susceptible to dying to Banelings. And now with Baneling speed finishing up for Rhett, that just adds insult to injury.
Yeah, one stim up from those Marines, and they are instantly just going to get killed off any Banelings that manage to make connections with them. But MorroW's trying to clean up some of this creep spread along the left-hand side. He's trying to find a way to do some sort of damage over here. Loads up a medevac, gonna fly directly underneath an Overlord, unfortunately. But aggression's not over yet. He's gonna be forcing out a lot of units, but I mean, Rhett's already hit that point where he has 81 drones. He has all of the drones that he wanted to make. At this point, forcing out units is not exactly the worst thing in the world for Rhett.
No, I mean, he definitely can start now, especially because he has the upgrade advantage too. 2-2 on the ground. We're seeing these Mutants take out a lot of those drops that are happening on the left side. The one on the right is also going to be defensed by these Lings and Banes on the ground. So yeah, 2-2 upgrades out for MorroW, or not for MorroW, sorry, for Rhett. And MorroW is only going to get his combat shield finished now. Big difference.
Oh no, there's a hole in the wall in over here. The Zergling's gonna stream over to the 3rd expansion as the supply depot's not quite fully walled in, but the SCVs are actually still able to repair relatively safely. But the expansion over the gold, that is not gonna be taken. Butyl will say no to that.
Yep, and it is probably gonna fall because it is flying over an area. Quite a few of those mutants were shaved off by MorroW in that attempt to take out that command center. I guess it was saved. Just barely, though. But these Lings, they're about to clean up a lot of these units on the ground. If MorroW cannot get them in proper position, these Marines are some of them being lifted, but a lot of them get cleaned up by the Banelings. And now MorroW is starting to have to shrink his territory here as the aggression from Rhett is a real issue.
Rhett really living up to the Heart of the Storm expansion, making it last with its namesake as long as he can. As he just comes in, this Zergling Baneling force has just gone everywhere around the map. When you have SCVs and mules retreating on to creep away from the Zergling harassment, you know that you're in trouble. So many workers just died over there. 43 workers left over, and Rhett, he's lost a lot of the mutals to that army over at the Gold expansion. But he's killed off a lot of the workers for MorroW. If he can defend against any kind of drops or aggression that comes out in the near future, he should be able to replenish that Mutalist count.
Yeah, no question about it. Liquid Red has come back into this game, and it all comes down to that 4th base expansion. Just that little moment of time where basically he was playing super greedy, getting up that tech, getting up his economy, where he had nothing but Zerglings on the map, and being able to just send them to make MorroW stay at home for just those 30 seconds. That's the reason why
It was a
we are
game
seeing what
changer.
we're seeing right now.
It completely changed the way that this game is being played out. But right now, Rhett moving in, mostly his Zerglings over there. The Banelings slacking a bit further behind. He doesn't have that many at this exact, or at least it didn't have that many with his army at that moment. It has 27 around, which is a pretty decent number. But Rhett is sitting up a fairly large amount of supply. If he can shut down the gold expansion or this third expansion from MorroW, I think that MorroW may have to start considering just going for the big all-in attack.
Yeah, right now MorroW is still hanging in there. He's still being able to defend his outer expansions, but indeed. And now we're seeing a lot of Banelings. Oh my gosh, these mutas fly in and take out a lot of workers over here at this base, something that MorroW certainly does not need right now. And the mutas are now flying into the main base finally and finding no missile turrets anywhere. This is going to be so fun for the mutas to pick off and camp these production structures, these add-on buildings. This is not what MorroW needs right now.
And as soon as MorroW tries to retreat back into that main base with all of those units, the Zerglings and the Banelings move over to the third expansion. They already are trying to move in. They're trying to clean up as many units over there. And I think that MorroW may just not have enough over at this gold expansion to defend. And Rhett realizes that he retreats back with his Mutals. He moves in with his Zerglings and Banelings. He's going to be able to kill off a lot of this army as it kind of trickles in.
Oh, but let's see if these Marauders can absorb those Baneling shots. That can help out a lot. But indeed, there's still some Banelings that are going to go after the remaining Marines. The rest are being split by MorroW, but he just doesn't have the quantity right now. And with that, we're seeing these mutas fly after the remaining Marauders. Not a lot of Marines in that army. Lings over here are cleaning up the Marines as well. And it does look like this may be the time that Rhett can break. No, he cannot break through just yet into that natural.
He's lost all of his Banelings. He's lost a lot of his Mutalists. He's trying to go for the engagement once again, trying to pick off whatever remaining Marines there are. If he can kill off the Marines, the Marauders are going to be sitting ducks versus the Mutalists, as well as those Medivacs could be big targets for later on. There's just not any Banelings, but the Zerglings, they're just in too high a number, Droopy. Red is going to be able to push on through. He's going to be able to take out the Medivacs, and once those Medivacs are gone, once the Marines and Marauders are gone, the third expansion is the sitting duck. I think that Red is going to be able to take this expansion out, and possibly with it, the game, and possibly with it, the series.
Oh man, denying this expansion, that's the straw that's going to break the camel's back. And you know what? I like that Rhett recognized he could win this engagement. And a big part of that is the 2-2 upgrade over the 1-1. I mean, now MorroW has 2-2. Maybe too little too late here, as Rhett is taking out everything at this base here. And I just don't know if MorroW is going to have it in him to come back now.
Red is double the supply right now of MorroW. MorroW is grasping at straws. He's still mining from that gold expansion. But look at it. It is undefended. It is a deer in the midst of a wildfire. That expansion is going to go down faster than Bambi's mother went down in the movie. And Red,
wow.
he's just maxing out. He's maxing out, and he's just going to go for it.
Oh my, guys. These mutas are now flying into this main base, taking out add-on buildings wherever they can. There's just no missile turrets anywhere in here. And Liquid Rhett right now is just in full control of the map, of the game, and economy. This is a dream scenario for him.
MorroW's trying to hold on. He's got... I don't even think that there are enough Marines... Yeah, there's not enough Marines in the main base to deal with this Mutalist. I think that Rhett can actually just take this engagement over here. The Widow Mine's going off, unfortunately not getting the hits they need. And he's going to be able to clean that up, start killing off the add-ons, start killing off the missile turrets, and continuing to secure himself in an even better position in the game. He's going out the command center, but, I mean, I think Rhett's going for the photo finish, ladies and gentlemen. He's making as many Banelings as he can. He's up to 54. He's still got some more finishing up, and he's going into the gold expansion. This is the wildfire I was talking about, and a gold expansion is not long for this world.
No, absolutely not. When it rains, it pours, and it's really pouring hard right now on MorroW. He's going to bring these Marines over here to try to deal with the mutas, and they will be able to. It's not like the mutas have great upgrades, but there's still Banelings on the ground, and without any other units to tank for these Marines and Marauders, that's going to be GG.
Well played.
Well played indeed. Liquid Rhett taking the series 3-1.
That was a damn good series, Droopy. That was a damn good series.
It really was.
I gotta say, to rewind it back to the first 5 minutes of our opening and our cast, I've been seeing a good bit of MorroW, and I'm really not too sure. I haven't been seeing as much of Rhett. I haven't been seeing as many results out of him lately. God damn, that was... Rhett has impressed me. I am once again reinvigorated for my excitement in Rhett. People used to talk about, oh man, Rhett, if he can just start getting into the groove, if he can overcome certain things and maybe his mindset and his playstyle, he's gonna be able to really show people some amazing, amazing games. And you know what? Liquid Red is back. He is back, ladies and gentlemen. And I think
Yeah.
that MorroW also showed
Yeah.
some great games there, but wow.
What I've seen in these games, it's not even just about, oh, Liquid Red has good mechanics. Like, he's making the right decisions. And,
Yeah.
over time, even if they just lead to small things, they're going to add up. And that game we just saw is a perfect example of it. Like, the decision to take that fourth base, like a lot of Zergs, they might feel a little shy. Like, oh, I just want to get that 3 base for now, maybe make some units just in case, like, MorroW's going to, harass me later. Like, Liquid Red's like, no, I got to do this. I'm behind. This is going to get me an opportunity to get ahead. And then just the ballsiness of staying on Zerglings for so long, but then sending them to buy him time. Like, it just comes back to that, honestly, in my opinion, in this game.
It really does. And that it goes back to Rhett's unbelievable, like his what is it? His reputation. His reputation as a player. He is the drone king. And even though I will say we didn't really see him be exactly the drone king in every single game this series, he very much found the right ways to cut the right corners to get ahead in the late game in almost all of the games. Whether it was getting ahead with the drone count, whether it was taking the double expansions and staying around on those just speed Zerglings and not have any Banelings for the big medevac, Marine, Stim, Widowmine timing, being able to use the Zerglings to buy himself time, just all the right decisions, getting ahead in upgrades, etc. Rhett was able to cut the right corners, and that is the mark of a truly great StarCraft player.